I'm Dr. Malini from Administrative Staff College of India. I'm going to invite my senior colleague, Professor Chari, to kickstart the event and welcome once again. Professor Chari, over to you, please.
Thank you very much, friends. Good afternoon and a very happy World Water Day, which is scheduled tomorrow, but we are doing it today. On behalf of ASCI, I would like to welcome Thara ma'am, who is the Additional Secretary, Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. And I would like to welcome all the experts, startups, as well as city officials who have joined on the call. We have both on this call and as well as through YouTube, more than 400 participants, mostly city representatives and startups. The purpose of this initiative is to bring the startup community as well as the city leadership together so that there is certain amount of meeting of minds, particularly in the context of Amrut and various other initiatives of Government of India. Now, I will not take much time. I will take about a minute to set the context. As we all know, we have made phenomenal progress as a country in the area of sanitation and now water supply. There is a push for universalization of individual tap connection, access, and quality improvements, and so on and so forth. However, when we go to the field, there are certain gaps in terms of efficiencies, gaps in terms of security, gaps in terms of last mile connectivity, and so on and so forth. So the challenge before us is that how do we address some of these on the ground challenges? How do we bring in greater efficiencies through so that we can reduce the wastages and leakages? How do I bring in water security through rainwater harvesting and other means? And more importantly, how do I infuse technology and ICT in effective water management and water and sanitation service delivery so that we could meet the sustainable development targets in time or probably ahead of time. Now, another important dimension that we thought it's important to have this conversation is that there is also an element of climate change, variability in terms of excess water or no water situation. So the utilities and municipalities have to think little more creatively, innovatively, and all this can happen only through a single point agenda of promoting innovations. So Administrative Staff College of India, in partnership with the Ministry of Housing and Affairs and other state governments, our endeavor is to promote innovations, promote startups to the practice of water utility management and sanitation management in the country. And this endeavor of ASCI is basically to bridge the gap that exists between startup community and various municipalities across the country who are mandated to deliver water and sanitation services. As many of you know, ASCI has been trying to push for various aspects of water and sanitation, be it rainwater harvesting, continuous water supply agenda, or fecal sludge and septage management, used water management, and so on and so forth. One of the important endeavor of ASCI is also to promote innovations. So without taking much time, I would now invite Dr. Malini to speak a bit about what is the effort that we are trying to make to promote innovations in water and sanitation space. Over to you, Dr. Malini, before I request Thara ma'am to deliver keynote address.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I think Thara ma'am is facing some issues in unmuting herself. Devika, can you please ask IT to prioritize that? Okay, so thank you very much once again. Welcome to all of you and welcome to all the panelists today. Grateful to you for taking time out. I know because of the World Water Day, you're all extremely busy, speaking in different forums, sharing your views and experiences. So thank you to all of you for joining today. I just want to extend the conversation that Professor Chari has just started about the importance of innovations. We all know that with climate change staring in our face, with SDG goals to be achieved in less than 9.5 years, the only way to move the needle on India achieving its water and sanitation goals is to think out of the box. And that's where leaders and innovators play a big role. And we at ASCII have been working towards building this ecosystem comprising, of course, of the startups and innovators, of which we have managed to touch base with 600 plus innovators. So we're very proud to say that we are working with about 600 innovators in the wash space. We also work towards bringing in corporates and private sector into the fold so that we could build the relationship between startups and private sector. Of course, all of you may know that ASCII works extremely closely with national ministry as well as various state governments to help them look at the innovators who are there, eager to work with them. So what we try to do is we believe that there are good minds, and there are well-intentioned minds across multiple stakeholders. And if we can provide a platform where these minds can come together, we can really help in bridging the information gap, the knowledge gap, the procedural gaps, and thus support in scaling up of innovations in this space. So some of the initiatives that are forthcoming in the very near future under our banner are one online course on 24/7 water, which is to be launched, which is to start in April. A national challenge for alternatives to single-use plastics, and corporate stewardship award, where we are aiming to acknowledge and recognize the contribution of corporates in promoting startups and innovators. So it's not possible to speak about all these, but I've put the email IDs at the bottom, and please do reach out to us for more information, and we're happy to share that with you. I'd also just like to quickly touch upon the Inkwash platform, where Inkwash stands for Innovations and New Knowledge in Water Sanitation and Hygiene. Launched in 2019 in partnership with the government of Telangana. In the first offering, where this was conducted as a physical event, we celebrated about 155 innovators. It's a great platform attended by more than 350 cities. We had TED Talk format talks, we had exhibitions, we had pitch presentations. The Inkwash 2, of course, was done online, and because of online, we were able to reach a much larger landscape of people in the ecosystem. And Inkwash 3 is now announced. The dates are yet to be announced, but we will urge you to participate. And this time again, it's going to be a physical event. We would love for you to touch base with us, come and exhibit your initiatives in the Inkwash exhibition, which is bound to be a stellar event. With that, I would request Thara ma'am to...
Malini, she's having a problem with the browser.
Okay.
So I requested our team to sort of sort it out with our office.
Okay, so I'm going to skip a couple of slides quickly so that we go to, yeah. So some of the products that you can access, these are open access that we have been putting together, include a book of innovations, which is case studies of innovators from across water, sanitation, behavior change, fecal sludge management, wastewater, across the entire spectrum. We also have a compendium or a catalog which sort of captures the contact details of all the 600 innovators whom we are associating with, for you to be able to contact them and have conversations and take business opportunities out of that. We have a book on plastic waste management. We have prepared a compendium on innovations in public toilet designs and operations, and so on and so forth. If you visit the website, which is given at the bottom, you'll be able to access all these resources. Of course, the next event that we will have is on 25th of April, wherein just as today we are bringing in some stellar innovators to you to speak about their ideas, experiences, implementations, we would be inviting about 5 to 6 brilliant corporates who have been spearheading support to wash sector and to come and speak to us as to how they are contributing to developing this wash ecosystem. So please block your calendars and do join us again on 25th April at 3:30. So with that, Prasachari, I'm going to hand over the mic back to you, because today we were to launch our next book comprising another 20 brilliant case studies, and we would want Ms. Thara to launch that. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Thara ma'am seems to be having an issue even now.
Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Malini. Friends, today's event is about bringing startups, innovators, and the city governments together. 65% of the participants in this particular webinar are city governments, and the rest of them are mentors and academicians and so on and so forth, NGOs. The next event is going to be primarily on bringing corporates and the startups together. So that's what Dr. Malini was talking about. Thank you, Dr. Malini, for setting the context. I'm just hoping that Thara ma'am would be able to join us. And
may I suggest that Devika starts with introduction of the panelists, and in the meanwhile, I'll work with Sayan in getting that sorted.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Yeah.
Also, ma'am, Thara ma'am's system seems to be unmuted right now. If she could just try once from her end.
We'll work on that, Devika. You focus on the introductions.
Sure. Yes. So good evening, everyone, once again. So we have a brilliant list of panelists today who are joining us, and we're extremely excited to have them with us. And I'll introduce them in the order of their sessions today. First up, we have Ms. Kalpana Ramesh, who's also known as a water warrior. She's an environmentalist who advocates for water conservation and restoration. She's the founder of the Rainwater Project, a social enterprise that focuses on sustainable water management practices and conservation of the Earth's natural water resources. At the Rainwater Project, they offer end-to-end solutions from design to execution of rainwater harvesting, wastewater reuse, and integrated water management solutions. Next up, we have Mr. Shravan Donti. He's a seasoned entrepreneur with a vast experience.
Yeah, I think now can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, ma'am, now you're.
You sent me a link as an attendee. So that was the problem.
Oh, all right. We did promote you as a panelist. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Devika, quickly wrap up your introduction of panelists.
Sure.
So that I could invite Thara ma'am to deliver the keynote.
I'll just take 2 minutes. Sorry, Thara ma'am. So yes, I was talking about Mr. Shravan Donti. He's a seasoned entrepreneur with a vast experience of working in the aviation, edtech, clean tech, and hyper-local e-commerce industry. He has started two on innovation or entrepreneurship, which is a Green Lantern that provides unique proven technologies to treat wastewater with 70% less electricity and 30% less space. And he also has another innovation called Tankawala, which is a mobile app to enable a user to order water tanker on demand across the city. Next, we have Mansi Jain. She is passionate about developing scalable solutions that tackle problems at the intersection of environment and development. She is the CEO of Digital Pani, that builds cutting-edge IoT and digital managed solutions to redesign wastewater operations to protect natural resources and build clean cities with abundant water. We are then having Mr. Asim Bhalera, who is an experienced technologist with a demonstrated history of innovation. He has started Fluid Robotics, which is a startup that provides products and services that enable better management of water and wastewater infrastructure. We have Mr. Vinay Chattaraju from Kritsnam Technologies, who's skilled in business development and strategy and specializes in launching new products and services to the governments. Kritsnam empowers companies with water intelligence, and they have a brilliant revolutionary product called Dhara. Last up, we have Mr. Raviraj Durvas, who is a marketer by training and social entrepreneur enthusiast. He'll be talking to us about Transform, which is an initiative of Unilever. And we're very happy to have all of you today with us. And I'll hand over the mic to Chari sir again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, ma'am, on this panel webinar, we have 6 very creative innovators and startups trying to contribute to the water and sanitation space, but primarily on the water sector and, of course, used water management. Now, the audience are primarily city governments, and we are trying to bridge the gap between the innovators and the city governments. And under your leadership, you already launched a challenge at the national level. So the idea is that to conduct a series of events. With us, we have about in our network about 644 startups, which we are going to showcase at different points in time, covering water, sanitation, and municipal solid waste management. There are about 648 of them, and we are increasing the number regularly, interacting with them and documenting their initiatives. So before I invite you to speak about the Amrut mission and your guidance, how do we bridge the gap between the cities and the startups? How do we modify the procurement procedures so that there is ease of working, doing business with the cities? What sort of incentives that can be offered to the startups in this space? I would now request you to please kindly inaugurate virtually a small booklet on innovations. We are capturing series of these documents. We go and interact with them and document their case studies and send it to cities as many. It's a virtual launch, just a small virtual launch, and I request you to, under your guidance, if this is inaugurated, then it will be good. Devika, can you do the proceedings?
So we just request Thara ma'am to say I launched the book.
Okay.
So thank you so much for the opportunity, and I launched the book. That's all. You can launch it.
Thank you. So now I invite Thara ma'am to give her keynote address for the benefit of everyone. She's the one who is leading the national level Amrut mission, Amrut 2.0. She's very passionate about water and sanitation, and she worked at different levels at the municipal level to now national level. And she has recently launched a challenge for promoting innovations in water space and used water management. So I think this is absolutely timely, and I request her to take us through and also give her direction in terms of how do we bridge the gap between startups and the city leadership at the national level as well as at the regional level. Over to you,
Uh, Thank you, Chari Saab. That's wonderful. I think let me start with saying that this is a great opportunity for us to meet all the startups. That's how I see it. And then I think it's important to understand what we have done. And Amrut as a mission has been taken up, launched by Honorable Prime Minister on 1st of October, where we said now all the cities will be provided water supply. And 500 Amrut cities, which cater to almost 60 to 65% of the population, will take care of 100% of sewerage and septage. Now, this is an intention. But if you look at that intention, to change it into reality and functional kind of setup, it needs a lot of people to join hands. We cannot have, say, a government doing it or a municipal government doing it or a state government doing it. Apart from that, the whole country has to take up this as its mission. I'm just putting out some slides for you so that I'm putting it in perspective. So, abhi, yeah, these are the slides. Now, to go there and present. Yeah, 1 minute.
and make sure there is access.
Yeah. I think now slowly you've given me access. Where is?
Sorry, sorry.
Selecting the screen.
Entire screen. Hello.
Hey, 1 minute.
Deny.
Okay. Right. Now, entire screen to theek hai. I just want to show screen. Where is the presentation?
Sayan, can you please check it up, Devika?
Right. Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you very well.
Okay. Now let me go through the let me go through the whole thing. I thought of putting up a presentation, but I'm not able to because already some problems in my computer. Now I've lost my patience with the technology. So what I would do is I'll just run you through all the people. Sorry for this, but I think I'll be talking relevantly for the next 5 minutes so that I cover all the technological glitches from both sides of the chapter. Amrut, as I told you, is going to cover all the cities, 4,813 as it is counting today, water supply, Amrut 2, and then sewage and septage management in 100 cities, 500 cities, 100%. Now, 500 cities, Amrut cities, which have 100,000 and plus population. That means it covers around 60% of the population. Now, when we launched this mission, we, very interestingly, what we did is, usually when we launch the mission, it is like a government will give this money, state will put up that money, and then putting together the ULB will take out that money, and all of them will do some work together. Now, this kind of model has been tried already in Amrut, and a lot of capacities got built. People failed, then fell, got up, started walking. Cities, parastatals. So we sort of built up some energy in Amrut one across the nation. So today we have 77,000 crore worth of projects either completed, 25,000 crore worth or 30,000 crore worth completed, and another 45,000 crores or 47,000 crores under implementation. Now this has shades of efficiency of 80 to 90% somewhere. It could be 70% somewhere. But what it gave the whole 500 cities which we took up in the first Amrut phase, Amrut 1, where all these 500 cities, which are 100,000 plus cities, develop some capability of dealing with a DPR, doing tender. It could be a parastatal which is doing it, but the ULB and the parastatal started coordinating, and this was sorted out. Now, Amrut 2, when we did that, we realized that, see, if only it was a contractor, ULB, city, and state and central game, it would have been so much easy for us to complete it in no time. I mean, it is not. Water is not a subject of government. Water is a subject of citizens. Now, how do we bring in citizens? There are skilled citizens who can be brought in. There could be citizens who are the consumers who can be brought in. There could be citizens who can come into the monitoring of infrastructure. There could be citizens who can come into solving problems, because sometimes it is the problems are being created at their end. So there are so many dimensions to this water problem. So we thought, how do we actually make this mission more robust in terms of stakeholder participation? Usually what happens is we structure things in such a manner that stakeholders become marginal. It becomes just a nominal participation. Whereas what this time we did is, I'm happy to state that when the mission was conceived itself, we added startups role in the cabinet note. We didn't do it as an afterthought. We said that this mission will be supported and the startups will be mainstreamed in the mission. What does that mean? That simply means this, that our first challenge was launched on, I think it was launched on 12th March in India Habitat Center. We contacted a few, this thing, I wish I could share this presentation, that would have helped. And in fact,
Allow. Select window screen. Let me speak probably online webinar or
allow.
So ma'am, now we need to go and we just need to check whether our presentation is visible to them.
Ma'am, we could probably circulate to all the participants and delegates. We have a database. We are sorry for the technical glitches. Thara ma'am wants to take us through a PPT. So we are just organizing it.
I think I tried to load the presentation, it gets cut off, some issue. So what happens is, we launched it on March 12th. Honorable Minister launched it, Hardeep Singh Puri ji, in India Habitat Center. And we planned it in a very short time. So we contacted as many startups as we could and experts, because we wanted to launch it, at least it will go into the startup community. In that, we launched the challenge. This is a challenge like any other challenge, where we launch a challenge, people participate, we select a few one, shortlist and give money and get off them, and they go their way, we go our way. Here is the situation. What we said is, now startups, each startup will be given 20 lakhs. Whoever, first 100 startups we're going to select. These have to be water selector startups and water sector startups, which will deal with freshwater systems, hydroinformatics, used water management, capacity building, urban water management, agriculture water management, water governance. I mean, this has so many subtopics. I'm just giving you broad topics. And this is available in innovateindia.mygov.in. Innovateindia.mygov.in. Now, in that, you can register. It is open up to May 12th. Now, what we said is, we will get all the startups. Whoever complete, the first 100 startups will be selected. If we find another 100 startups worthwhile to be selected, we will select. But in the first file movement, we have taken 100 startups and 20 lakhs each. That means 20 crores we have committed. Here, we are not looking at, we are going to select. You will work in a project, demonstrate to the city where you're working, and they will give you 20 lakhs. We're looking at growth phase startups. We are not looking at ideation stage, because ideation stage will need some time to mature. Here we are, that stage we don't want to, because we need somebody who's already working to kickstart in the same city, some other part of the project, or in some other city, wherever you want to go. And this will be supported by 20 lakhs worth of money. Initially, we'll give 20%, then 40%, 40% as you go along. There'll be expert committee which will scrutinize your progress and give the money. Now, see, imagine 100 startups being onboarded as part of the mission with each 20 lakhs, and they can work in the cities. Now, when you make the application, we'll go through it. Again, I'm committing, it is going to be growth phase startups where at least there is proof of concept which is almost done, or it is so sure that your proof of concepts is good enough. And once we receive that, there will be almost preliminary filtration where somebody draws something and says we cannot prevent that. We don't have any way to prevent that. So from there to, we'll go through 2 stages of selection. It will be done through expert committees, technical committees. For example, the whole entries will be divided into 3 or 4 sectors as they come in. We're not giving in. It could be freshwater, it could be water supply, freshwater rejuvenation, water supply. It could be by water informatics, or it could be water monitoring angle, or it could be wastewater, used water management. There's nothing called wastewater, used water management, and there could be so all that we will divide and send it to the respective experts. Constitutional experts will go through it and see whether it is doable, and then maybe even quiz you about what you have done so far, and if they want any more information and demonstration. It's better that when you upload, I think you can also upload your videos. So be clear when you say what you want to do or what you're doing, so that we can onboard you. See, what does this give? This platform will give that you are 100 startups in front of all the states, demonstrating your solutions, capabilities. So states will directly contact you. Even the first step is we will anyway support you with 20 lakhs. So state will directly contact you, and you can become the partner, implementing partner, technology partner for the states. And these people, all the 100 startups, if COVID doesn't return with its vigor, will be able to physically exhibit all these solutions. And there will be a huge program where we will reclaim the space for working in water sector for startups. Yes, somebody is asking, can you take up the project? Management. Yes, I mean, I am not bothered. If there should be a startup, if some university professor or somebody wants to take it up and mentor it and guide it, yes. For us, it has to be a startup. Startup in the sense of DPIIT, registered startup. Because there's some way you have to have an established system. So we want a registered startup, and which is essentially found a solution for what they want to do and what they are doing, and can use this money as a supplementary or a complete new project. That is up to them. But what we want is that something gets demonstrated. There could be a robot which will go through a pipeline and tell you where the pipeline is likely to go breach itself. Therefore, therefore you change that part of the pipeline instead of changing the whole pipeline. There could be a solution where there was some startups which showed water hyacinth being collected and made into a paper. I mean, nothing could be better. It creates so much of BOD issue, water hyacinth. So these kind of variety of people had come, and we had 30-40 people, startups who came there, because we also didn't have much of time, and we had to launch the challenge. And now, because launching of the challenge is the most important thing, now we want it to be spread far and wide. As I told you, it's on, if you even, as I talk, you can Google on innovateindia.mygov.in. India Water Innovation Challenge. That's what it is called. Yeah, we are sharing the link also. I will share the link also as I'm talking. I think chat window. Type it, innovateindia.mygov.in. So this is what we did. So anybody can take up the project. It has to be a startup. Remember, it has to be a registered startup. Not that I say I'm a startup. It has to be a registered startup. So we will do the needful. Can you see that? Now you can see. https:/innovate.mygov.in India Water Challenge. Now you guys can see it. See, spread it far and wide. See, don't worry. It's not it's a first 100. I have an objective in my mind of putting 500 startups on job in 500 cities or more, or anything. Now there cannot be a better opportunity for startups. There cannot be a better opportunity for innovators. Why I'm saying this? Because one, you get a national exposure. All the state mission directors will be looking at your solutions and co-opting you as partners to solve a certain part of the problem. After that, it's up to you. Your solution being good, you can break into the market. So this is the first time. What we are doing is we are making startup as mainstreaming as a mainstream partner in the mission. So this is what we are doing. And one more thing is, we'll also have a grand jury. This 100 startups will have to present themselves later, whoever gets shortlisted. And then, see, here we are not forced to select 100 startups. We are aiming for 100 startups, but we will only select 50 if we find 50 are worthwhile to engage with. We will select 100 if we cannot select more than 100 this time. Another launch of challenge will happen after 6 months or 7 months once we see how this functions. So I think there's no money constraint. There's no constraint of anything, but the participation should be good enough that you come up with good solutions and you participate. And another thing which we are doing, I think all the people should know is, we have this Amrutam app. All the connections are getting uploaded on the Amrutam app. Now, usually for the third-party verification, we go to some third-party company and give them money and to verify it. Now we are bringing up one thing. We have formed gigs of 5 connections each, and we are spreading it to university students. They can pick up and check those connections and take pictures and upload, and they get some money as pocket money. And per connection, we are giving 3,000 rupees to the state, where they have done it from non-Amrut funds. So this is going to be another way where the women and youth can get onboarded to check. Now that is in pilot stage. We are doing in Orissa and Tamil Nadu. If the success happens, then you will have Amrutam app available to you. Anybody can pick up, go check and upload. So this is another place. I mean, you may get, if you check 5 connections, you get 500 rupees. Each gig has 5 connections to check. So this is what this pilot stage. I just want to use this forum to just tell you guys this. So this will help, and if you are able to successfully do it, then you can check anything you want through a selective group for skilled thing, and non-selective group for just non-technical things like accessibility, quantity, quality, and so I think this is where we are working. I would request all of you to participate. We are going to have one more technology demonstration under technology submission of Amrut 2, where we will ask companies which are well established or just startups to even showcase technologies. And there's one more offer in the Amrut 2 guidelines, that if you have innovative technology, somebody can invest and demonstrate it, because sometimes tender doesn't allow innovative technology to come in. This is the way of getting around that existing practice without violating the vigilance rules. So we said, okay, if I have an innovative product and I want to showcase it to the cities, we are willing to fund up once it starts. We won't invest anything upfront. Once an expert committee goes through it, we are willing to invest up to 50 lakhs into that, provided I start working for 6 months at least, and then up to 25%, whichever is high. whichever is lower, that will be given to them. These are two ways where we are bringing in innovative and startups without going through tender route or issues. Therefore, you're getting on board. Kindly go through it, this thing, and please apply as many and spread this word. This is a great opportunity for all of you to engage with Amrut. Amrut 2 is and it's a paperless mission. Once you are part of this community, you will be part of that cloud where everything is operating. I must say today that when I say paperless, I don't mean this peripheral computerization which has happened. We are looking at a situation where city water balance plans are done by cities online. It's around 4,300 cities have completed it out of 4,800. City water action plans are done by cities and sent to state, and states aggregate it and make the state water action plan, and they analyze and scrutinize and upload all that online, not a single paper. You can imagine the amount of data which is coming on it in terms of water. And so far, I'm proud to say that 6 states have got their SWAPs approved, state water action plans approved online. It's done. And yes, you can see all the plans on any portal, but you need to, we won't part with that data because we will want you to, if cities have to also collaborate to part, because there's a lot of data, this thing, we'll put some APIs later. We're just in the process because cities are sending in data. These are amazing amount of data we have, but we are not going to part with the data, but we are going to analyze the data and part with some of the findings for the city, because cities also are putting up. I don't want somebody putting up the data and 10 people analyzing it and giving a lot of inputs unnecessarily, till we also have cities on board. There's something called maturity of data sharing that has to be established in a system. So that case is going on. We'll share only those data because the cities have to be comfortable. For the first time, cities are parting with their data, looking at their page. Each city has a page. They are the owner of that. So how they have put in data, there's some assumptions they have taken. It could be wrong, it could be right. Sometimes what happens is people just analyze the data without the context. That we don't want it to happen. So therefore, it will be only APIs will be shared, which are very important and which has to come out as this thing. But what we can share is we can show you challenges. We'll be posting challenges for which you can work as solutions. So this is all I wanted to tell you. I don't want to speak anymore. I went through a lot of technological glitch. So I lost a lot of ground about talking. But I think this must be sufficing for engaging.
Thank you.
I request that all of you actively participate in this.
Thank
you
you,
are present important for us. But
we will,
come with a very, very
go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good solutions, growth phase solutions don't come with very, very preliminary solution in the first phase. Ideas are welcome, but we all have ideas. Right? Ideas have to be translated into reality. That's where the missions can be operationalized. Why I'm particular about good amount of work which has gone on is, see, you are going to associate with cities. It's easy for a traditional system to say, sir, madam, aapne ye sab kiya, these startups are not able to do much. See, that should not be the narrative. Narrative should be, these startups made a difference. So I want you guys with a lot of experience to come in, at least initially. After that, we'll also help you other ideation phase startups to also engage and grow. But right now we're looking at growth phase startups so that we won't lose the space we have got. In terms of, see, out of 100 startups we select, maybe even 50 startups work successfully to solve a problem in their own ways in the cities. We will be very happy. Thank you so much. This is all Chari Sahab I wanted to tell you.
Thank you,
all of
ma'am.
you.
This is super useful.
Please, all the universities can also engage through their startups. So you all can. And you can engage essentially in the cities where you're working or in nearby cities. So I would request, you can think of anything, as I told you, from water hyacinth to on-site treatment in houses, domestic houses. There were technology demonstrated even for on-site treatment in a domestic household, where a little water, you don't leave it, you treat it and reuse it. Simple. When somebody had put a tub below the washing machine and gave a connection to the toilet, that's also a great idea. Flush and put in system that it pushes that water there. So nothing can be, it is a very simple solution. So startups can think much better than all of us think in the system. Therefore, my request is just engage positively. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I think This is extremely useful. We are going to.
You are muted,
disseminate
Chari,
this. Can you hear me now? How about others?
You're
Devika?
muted.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is extremely useful. We are going to disseminate this information to a number of partners who are not on this call, but this particular webinar, we are targeting 6 bright minds, but we are going to disseminate to as many people as possible, number one. Number two, I think the message that we are getting is that it's not just about the fiscal incentive of 20 lakhs or later at 50 lakhs, but it is opening up an opportunity to work and collaborate with the cities and state governments. Once Government of India endorses, it opens up a door to collaborate with the state as well as at the city level. I think that is a big, I would say, contribution of this challenge that Thara ma'am has talked about. This is super useful. As I said, as ma'am said, this is for growth phase startups. But even if you are at an ideation level, ASCII has this innovation hub where we are going to work with ideation phase startups to bring you to the growth phase, and then you can participate in the challenge. So I think we will collaborate, we will work together, and then develop an ecosystem for startups to deepen their engagement with the cities at various areas, as Thara ma'am said, range of options that are available. So without taking much time, on behalf of all the participants, on behalf of cities here, I would like to thank Thara ma'am for taking out time and sharing a very useful information, which will directly benefit the startups who are on this call and outside this call. Now,
no, I would like to see that all of you come on board and the numbers keep going up. Right now, I think around 35 startups have registered in the last few days, but I want all of you to participate. And don't worry,
we have more than
500 startups is my goal. Huh? Yeah, Shari.
We have 500 people ready to join.
No, but you are only 148 as participants.
No, but this is for cities. This is for cities. The participants are all mostly cities and select startups. So we have every fortnight, we have one event. The next event is already scheduled on 23rd.
So Chari sir takes the responsibility for bringing at least 200 startups registered on this challenge. Is that so? What I'm hearing?
Done.
Thank you. No, I'm just joking, but I think you guys have to be really coming on board. We're looking for some great minds to work together.
Sure. So thank you very much. I now invite our esteemed Bright Minds panelists as well as called startups. I will now invite Kalpana Ramesh, who's been extremely active in the area of revival of water bodies, rainwater harvesting. Currently, she's working in Hyderabad in the context of Amrut, I think. So over to you, Kalpana ji.
Thank you, Chari Garu. I'll just share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, you can take full screen. Yeah, great. We can see it well.
So, yeah. So rainwater project, Thara ma'am, it's so encouraging to see, startups getting connected to working with the government and scale all the work that we are doing. It's super encouraging, I must say. So I'm Kalpana Ramesh and I'm founder of the Rainwater Project. I come from an architecture and design background. And I saw several gaps as to nobody is actually focusing on water when it comes to our own design industry. It's come to architects, builders, and several other faculties who can actually do things for water. So slowly, as a design studio, I have had 20 years of practice. We started transforming our practice towards water conservation. And the Rainwater Project is an effort which is a social enterprise started with one goal that we increase rainwater harvesting and recharge from 8% today to 80%. So all of us know the crisis, but the point is, in crux, this is our problem that our population is increasing. Where is the water? We're getting, cities' water comes from 200 kilometers away. Sustainability of cities is something we need to seriously think and work around, and we need large amount of communities coming together. We need different typologies of buildings coming together. And of course, the government working with us, because we have to break this cycle of urban floods and widespread contamination and overmining of groundwater. So this is what we identified as a startup initially working on ground for the last 8 years. This is what we understood, that there's huge lack of awareness, there's lack of strict implementation, and lack of end-to-end service providers where it is scientifically done and it's site specific. This is not understood. So many people do rainwater harvesting, but then there is no results. Or people do rainwater harvesting, it's not a scientific way of doing it, so you're not again seeing results. Or there is maintenance free solutions which people need, because 80% of the pits today in the city simply do not work because they're not maintained. So what are those innovations? So these are all gaps I found working closely in this line. So initially, I thought at a macro level, working with the city at the macro level. So I have tried to work with the city water board MD and GHMC commissioners and that. But it seemed challenging to put together a solution because there are so many layers of issues, so many things to be tackled when it is water, and it's multi-layered and it's very vast. So I thought like putting together solutions as a block. So we happened to break down Hyderabad into 98 smaller watersheds. And if we can prove, making this block water rich by doing several actions within that block, seemed like something very, very doable. So we call it the lake block because we work around lake as the crux of that block. So in a block, we can have, we probably have 2 lakes or 5 lakes, or wells. So we are addressing surface water bodies, we are addressing groundwater, we are also trying to understand rainwater. Now we are trying to get map the entire block in terms of what is the wastewater generated, how many bore wells, how much water is getting extracted, what is the rainfall in that block, and how to get each one of the typology of buildings in that block to do rainwater harvesting. So if you see it in in one crux, what is it that we are looking at in every block? So simply it is this, these are all different types of waters, and these are all different actions that we have to build within that block. So it is planning the block, which involves a lot of research, understanding, going on ground, collecting data, because data-driven action is the way to go. Instead of just telling do rainwater harvesting, giving a clear-cut plan, and then what about rainwater harvesting on roads? How about our wells? How about restoring our lakes? And how about common area rainwater harvesting? And rainwater harvesting within cities, within that block, you have several institutions, you have several organizations, you have banks, you have malls, you have all typologies of buildings. So all of this together, then we can talk that we are doing rainwater harvesting within the block. So starting with community action for lakes, I realized that we can work as a 3-part plan: the government, community, and NGO or a social enterprise, and connecting with the CSR faculty. We can find our solutions connecting the blocks. We worked on a lake where we have made communities remove sewage lines out of the lake, and instantly the lake has become 30% cleaner. Today we've rejuvenated that lake, worked for 3 years, and we've put together 20,000 people who are aligned with this action. Today we are talking about doing bioenzymes as a community, and we are doing a lot of capacity building workshops where they can maintain their lakes themselves, sustainable action. The first ever lake protection committee, where we have opened a bank account where people are involved. I mean, they put their money and then they maintain it. And also seeding action for rainwater harvesting is very, very important for different type of, it is not a cookie cutter solution. It is something that you have to, different buildings have different challenges. The strata is different. So understanding this in, area wise, I'm trying to build solution. I'm trying to tell what is water for them in that particular area. So going down to the last mile and telling them that this is what it is and this is the solution for this strata. This is a type of structure that can be built. And so this is our first block, which is about 10 square kilometers. We haven't covered the entire block yet, but huge amount of success we have seen in this block where we have restored a well. The well is about 12 lakh liter capacity, but through the 2020 floods, we have demonstrated an example that it was able to capture more than 26 lakh liters, and it has gone into the ground where the communities around have benefited in a huge way, and also restoring the lake. Now we are also talking about a clean catchment. There are all these garbage-filled lakes, garbage-filled, wells and water bodies, and even the rainwater harvesting pits. Usually, in no time, it becomes a garbage, dump yard space. So how do we bring innovation in that, where we do modular rainwater harvesting, and water gets filtered, the plastics don't go in there, and you have a good patch of greenery that you see. So things like that, we started innovating, and this year also we have got a fund from HDFC. So we plan to do many more rainwater harvesting in an innovative method today, and also installing drain screens and understanding the catchment, as in what comes into the drain screen, and sensitizing people, because all our work is inclusive of communities. Without communities, I feel nothing can be sustainable. And you can see the change from where to where, and so many lakhs of people, just that, around the lake, about 20,000 people have benefited in a big way in terms of clean air, stench-free. We've installed, solar powered underbubble aerators, wetlands. And every time we build something, we try to educate the people around as to what is that solution, how they can handhold this solution, and how they can take it in the longer run. While we do that, as an enterprise, we also talk about different type of buildings, and it could be individual homes where we've done these modular rainwater harvesting, tying up with another startup who actually manufactures these. And we have demonstrated examples where you don't need to maintain these rainwater harvesting pits, but minimal maintenance free solutions. Because if you keep, advocating this idea that you need to keep cleaning and maintaining the rainwater harvesting pits, that's not happening, and a lot of energy goes into that. So why not build solutions which are maintenance free or least maintenance? So we've done large resorts, large communities where we've installed 1 lakh liter and 2 lakh liter huge modular systems with injecting bores. So it takes more than 2 crore liter water in this community alone is sent into the ground. So we are talking about different typologies of buildings. It includes industries. We're working with a lot of industries, making them go zero discharge. We're also talking about wastewater treatment methods, and we're talking about automated system, custom-made wastewater methods, where it is custom-made to that type of water and what is the output that they need. And we're talking about doing rainwater harvesting in large campuses, which are 200 acres and beyond. And also the wells. We picked up wells on a war footing, because every time we sort of document a well, within a year we are seeing that it's gone. So we thought we should do a lot of awareness and bring back these wells and showcase examples how these make a huge difference in the community. So we worked with masjids, we worked with goshalas, we worked with temples, we even have worked with churches. So this is a very prime, location in Hyderabad called Gachibowli. It's known world over for the IT industry, but this is named after a humble well, which is made of lime, which is completely filled with garbage. So we demonstrated an example where we found back water in this well. And in today's context, it needed a fencing. We've done that. And as architects, we also sort of documented the entire process, including post-restoration and pre-restoration, so that anyone who wants to restore a well, it works like a Bible for that.
Kalpana, you may need to wrap up in a minute.
Sure. So we worked with goshalas, we worked with several other institutions. We also worked with collectors in the peri-urban areas, trying to celebrate these wells as places of cultural interest, connecting the heritage to these wells. And this is a well in the middle of the city, which we found recently, and the restoration works are happening here. We do a lot of capacity building workshops, not only for academicians, but also for communities, bioenzymes and such. and connecting with different layers in the community, and also making plumbers as champions in each zone for doing this rainwater harvesting and making them ambassadors for the cause. We're working with municipalities, working with a lot of schools, doing capacity building, and we've also demonstrated several examples by doing this. And yeah, I think I'm done with my presentation. Thank you so much. And it's been wonderful how we've been able to tie in with the government locally and have achieved a lot in the last 2 years. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kalpana Garu. I think a couple of very powerful messages that are coming out. One, Kalpana ji could connect not only with the communities and the corporate world, but I think she is able to connect with the collectors, connect with the municipalities, so that it is not restricted to one particular geography, but it actually she's moving towards achieving scale. Of course, there are a whole lot of challenges associated with her work, but I think another interesting thing I noticed was she's able to collaborate with other startups who are in the plastic waste recycling. I saw some pictures, which is actually the containers, but developed by another startup who is into plastic waste, single-use plastic recycling. So I think these are very powerful collaborative efforts. So Kalpana ji, 1 or 2 points. What are the, in 20 seconds, what are the big challenges you are experiencing in your work? And what support you need from cities?
So the biggest challenge would be like if we can tie in with the government to scale up the work that we are doing. Right now, we're working in smaller blocks, but demonstrating these examples in larger spaces. Right now, we're working with a couple of collectors also. So taking the shallow aquifer management at a larger scale, I think only government can make this happen. So even the flyover water, it's crores of liters of water we lose. So if we have, given proposals to the government, if they can help us set up the pilots for these kind of, then it can become an example for the city, how we can save flyover water that we lose. Like this, there are several proposals, Charigaru. So then there are certain blocks in that. So it just makes a little bit easier for us if we are able to communicate this to the right, people in the government, take it forward. I think this
is your work squarely fits into the Amrut 2.0 mission. In fact, I urge all the city leaders in this group to look at the Amrut guidelines. These are some of the eligible components, and these can actually be taken at the city scale, not just as simple pilot, but we can take it at a scale. And that's what Kalpana ji is and the rainwater project is all about. Thank you very much. We'll come back to some discussion later. Now I invite Ms. Mansi Jain. She's from Digital Management Tools for Managing Wastewater. She is CEO of Digital Pani. Over to you, Mansi.
Yeah, great. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. And it's great to be a part of this panel. I've learned a lot already in the last few sessions. So I'll just share my screen here for a moment. Great. Is it visible?
Yeah, this is good. Please go ahead.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I'll just get started. So hi, everyone. I'm Mansi from Digital Pani, and we're working to build water resilience for sustainable urban development using digital tools specifically for wastewater operations management. So the way that we see it, the water crisis is really a wastewater management problem in some sense, because a lot of the wastewater today in the world is untreated. It's actually contaminating our drinking sources of water as well. And this is especially true if you look at a place like India, where 80% of the water bodies are polluted by sewage, contaminating our fresh water. And at the same time, we're actually using fresh water for a lot of purposes which we don't need to use them for. So for example, flushing, horticulture, cooling, so on and so forth. There's a lot of unnecessary freshwater use going on, even as almost 750 million people are facing water stress in just this country. And so what we see is that wastewater is really the key tool to tackle both these twin problems side by side. And we can actually meet a large proportion of the urban water needs if we do it right. And so that's why we basically believe that an integrated approach to water management with a focus on wastewater is critical to move ahead, especially given some of the shocking statistics that I think Kalpana ji was also sharing about water running out. And so the way we look at it is that bottom-up approach is the way to achieve this at a high level. We can't start just by doing state level policies. It's really all about aggregating up and looking at the individual assets, the block level, the city level, and how it all actually adds up to the state level. And so that's where our focus really is. It's on promoting an integrated approach to water management using data and expertise-based operations. And so we begin our work by focusing at the asset level and then aggregate up. And so what's actually going on at the asset level, which basically means the individual STPs, individual ETPs, all of those kinds of plants. Essentially what we see, our team has around 25 years of experience in this space. And what we've seen over the years is that there are really two key problems in how these units are operated. So the first thing is that there's no visibility whatsoever. There's no way to detect problems early. We're kind of just relying on, when things break down, when water quality goes bad, that's when we find out. And there's no visibility either on operation teams' work. And so there ends up being a lot of information asymmetry, and there's no accountability actually. Let's say, for example, you are the owner of a facility, or let's say you're a JAL board or something like that. You've outsourced operations of your facilities to an O&M provider. You don't actually know what's going on either until things actually start coming apart. And even they don't know what's going on because they don't have tools to assess them until things go wrong. And the more important thing is actually a lack of expertise is what we've seen. So there's a shortage of experts actually who know how to handle the complexities of wastewater, which is natural because, we have a very decentralized network, thousands and thousands of plants across the country. It's not possible to have experts available at that scale at all because of cost constraints. And so because of this, we see that operations are mostly based on heuristics. They're not based on what's the actual core expertise required to run any kind of system. And because of that, most of these plants actually go dysfunctional very fast. They're suffering from a lot of breakdowns. They're suffering from bad water quality. And there's also risks of safety hazards actually happening in these facilities. Let's say if septic conditions start happening or poisonous gases start being formed. And so we see that then there needs to be a new way of doing this. We can't continue on in this way of operating, which is completely devoid of expertise and devoid of any information to actually help us manage this operation. And so we are basically looking at how data and technology can actually help us solve these twin challenges. So, one alternate solution, let's say you don't look at data and technology and you think, okay, how do we fix the current style of operations the way it is? So one way in which you could do it is probably deploy more experts on site and create layers of supervision so that you have that accountability, you have that expertise. But that's obviously very expensive and it's not possible for every small facility in every building to actually do that at scale. And so we are basically through technology focusing on how do we scale up this approach to having expertise-based operations without actually increasing cost, and while also providing that visibility to every single facility out there. So be it, in someone's neighborhood, be it in an industrial complex, be it an office building, all of these different small facilities can all have their own proper management setup. And so this is exactly what Digital Pani is doing. And we essentially call it like an integrated operation system. So like integrated ops. And the whole idea is scaling that expertise and managing the life cycle of wastewater treatment. And this happens in 3 kind of simple steps. So the very first one is baseline, which means that when we take over operations, we need to actually figure out how should these plants be operating. So, every plant has its own effluent characteristics. Let's say if it's getting industrial effluent, it may be facing certain kinds of effluent that it needs to handle. And then operations need to be adjusted accordingly. It may have its own kinds of units of operation. Someone has a UF, someone doesn't, someone has filters, someone doesn't. All of these different ways of operating, they need their own kind of methodologies for how operations should be done. So those are the things that we determine based on the onboarding data we gather into our software. Next is that we actually have to manage the facility and we have to manage it to achieve the objectives that we had defined. And so let's say, things are going well. It's a normal circumstance. Then what we actually do is manage the whole plant, both through a combination of automation and then also by managing the workflows of the entire on-site staff. So what should the procurement team be doing? What should the on-site operators be doing? From hour to hour, minute to minute. What should they prioritize? What are the steps that they actually need to achieve? What is the training that they need to actually do it effectively? All of those things we are managing through a single, simple, integrated platform. And now let's say actually things start going wrong. Let's say there's been some sort of shock load. Let's say there's a deterioration happening in one of the equipments or any of those things. So what we actually do is also collect data streams from these facilities. So, all the various sensors, electrical panel data, lab test result, all of these different data points are telling us what's actually going on. And based on feedback from them and the diagnosis algorithms that we have running, we can actually take it back to the operations team in real time and say, look, operator, this is actually how you need to resolve it. This is the step-by-step steps you need to take to solve this particular challenge. And here's the training that you're going to need. So please review this training material. If you don't do it on time, it will escalate up. Or let's say you do it, but you don't actually do it. We are supervising it. It's actually being done automatically through our software. And that's essentially how we make sure that the whole system is closed loop and issues are resolved easily. And then the final step is improvement. So it's not just about being reactive and handling issues from day to day. It's about how do we actually improve these facilities, because this is a long-term asset, which is very important for our city's health. And so we are actually looking ahead that, what is the operating cost trajectory going on in this facility? What is the kind of maintenance and breakdown history happening? Based on that, can we actually recommend to you what are the physical upgradations you might need? What is the changes in the operation patterns that you might need to actually overcome all of this? So it's really a simplified way to handle the whole end-to-end system using kind of the expertise that no one typically has available. And so if I just walk through one specific example, I think hopefully people have gotten a sense, but maybe this will just help illustrate better about how we
have another 2 minutes. So if you can summarize it with some examples.
Yeah, sure. So as I was saying, if you look at a specific challenge like maintaining biological health, we would begin by baselining and determining what are the ideal biological parameters. We would then manage it using our automation manager as well as our team manager. We would then use our sensors to detect things like poor sludge health, and then actually provide them the step-by-step troubleshooting, along with the supervision, escalation, all of those things. And then finally, we would say, hey, maybe you need an increase in your aeration capacity to help beat XYZ challenge. Or maybe we need to change the baseline biological parameters we had determined initially to improve future outcomes. And through this process, we're actually able to solve a lot of the challenges that manual operations have. And so while in manual operations, there's often a big gap between plant design and operations. They're being handled by different people. The operators don't know how should the plant actually be run. Now it's fully integrated because we're integrating in all those different phases of the plant and accordingly deciding what is to be done. And while before in manual operations, you don't have any way to detect early or prevent early, now it's actually fully proactive operation where we're detecting, resolving, and preventing before issues actually happen. And while before you don't have expertise, now there's real-time expertise available, which is actually not even possible through human supervision. It's only possible if you actually have a system in place. And then finally, while in manual operations, you have a short-term focus. Here we're looking at the whole life cycle and long-term focus, which minimizes the future operating costs and maintenance. And this is actually something that we've implemented in various places. So if you look at a case study of one of our facilities, a commercial complex, where basically they were having a lot of challenges dealing with their operations and actually weren't being able to treat most of it. They were actually having to bypass it, having a lot of issues around breakdowns and equipment choking. And we've actually been present there for over a year now and been able to solve all of these challenges. So through our system, we've been able to fix lots of operational issues like choked filters or broken down automation, poor backwash practices, and so on. And so the plant is able to treat 100% of the sewage to water quality standards, as well as almost reuse 100%. And at the same time, we've actually seen operating costs also come down by around 32%. And that's basically because a lot of your operating parameters also come down. So your manpower needs on site come down a lot. Rather than having 24 hours of work needed, you actually only have 2-3 hours of work left. Your energy demand comes down a lot. I think people often don't realize it's a huge factor in the overall costs. And so around 35% saving in energy we saw, because we're actually able to reduce the equipment use and do only the minimum to make the plant run well. And then finally, breakdowns we eliminated by almost 85%. There's almost been zero breakdowns ever since we took it over. And ultimately, we see that this is the way forward. This is the way to drive great results for everyone and have impact at scale. So if you look at industry or you look at commercial or residential, for them, this is basically about having hassle-free, cost-effective, expertise-based operations where they can achieve their compliances and reuse and recycle more water because it's having good water quality results. And then if you look at municipalities or you look at policymakers, what we can actually do, let's say we have 100 facilities in a city doing this approach, we actually aggregate that up. We can reduce demand for fresh water at scale. We can reduce contamination of land and water. And actually, eventually, policymakers can actually potentially aggregate these data layers up and have a cost-effective way of looking at what's going on. Where is the urban wastewater supply actually available? How can they manage it properly in a cost-effective manner and allocated resources using data?
Thank you.
I think I'll end here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And would love to hear any questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much. If you can bring down the slide so we could see everyone. Yeah, if you can remove the stop share option. Devika, can you do that?
Yes, it's just giving me an option to do a new share.
Okay, friends, I think, Mansi, this is brilliant. This is super useful for the country. Many a times we create a lot of assets under state and central government support programs, but these assets get dysfunctional because of poor operational maintenance practices, as well as because of lack of critical preventive maintenance and preventive advice in effective management of these assets. I can draw a very clear parallel between what you have done and the medical field. Now, during the COVID, there's a lot of advice, online advice coming from specialist doctors, a lot of advice coming for healthcare related issues. So why not for assets related to wastewater management? So they are providing actually very specialized advice, which will reduce energy, improve operational efficiency, cut down the breakdowns, frequent breakdowns, and very, very importantly, meeting the environmental and discharge standards. I think this is super helpful. I can give you Dynamite as an example. When we work with cities, we often reach out to experts. Mr. Venkat is there on this call. We keep bothering him. Can you please tell us what is the best way to solve the problem? Whereas your initiative brings a lot of intelligence, global and national intelligence, to solve the problem based on case-to-case basis. Thank you very much, Mansi, for sharing your brilliant initiative. And I'm sure many cities would benefit from your intervention and what you're trying to do. Not only the private sector, but also the government sector would also benefit. Thank you very much. I now invite Mr. Shrevant Donti. He's a managing director of Green Lantern Technologies in Tankawala. And he's going to speak about the business models with regard to reuse of treated used water. And I was very fascinated with this initiative where the construction and demolition construction industry can benefit phenomenally from what these initiatives are doing. Over to you, Mr. Shrevant.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a great presentation until now. A lot of things that the startups here are discussing, I think, is very common in our space. But it's a great platform for us all together to share all of these learnings in a common platform like this. It's amazing. Thank you so much for facilitating this. So I would like to start off with one of my presentations. So let me just begin with that. Yes. Okay. So if you look at wastewater treatment, you know, like, I mean, if you the city is facing so much shortage for water, and there is not enough water for sure. Like, you know, we've been exhausting the river waters, and the groundwater has also been rapidly depleting. I think Kalpana is very much on par with us with regard to the shortage, and all her calculations are also matching with ours. And the way forward was basically to put up STPs, and there's no rocket science behind this. So we thought, okay, let's create sewage treatment plants to recycle water. But then, like how Mansi was talking about just earlier, any of these assets, once they're deployed, it starts to depreciate, it starts to lose value, it starts to underperform. And most of these assets that we put out with a great intention tends to fail. So you're putting out money, you're spending resources to operate it, and then it starts to fail. And then so nobody is actually winning in this conversation. So what we decided to do is we wanted to reform the entire concept of sewage treatment. So we wanted to make it very simple. We wanted to make it very like, indigenous, developed in our nation, for our country, with our problems, with our solutions, So that's when the biohybrid was designed. So I don't want to go too deep into a technology. What I would like to point out to you all is the technology is approved by Central Pollution Control Board as well as Karnataka State Pollution Control Board, where we are currently operating. So if I had to give a quick understanding of technology advantage, the initial process of screening and equalization tank remains the same with any technology. And the tertiary treatment like sand filter, settling, sand filter, carbon filter, and chlorination also remains the same. What we have really innovated in is moving away from just a single aeration tank into a hybrid model of having anaerobic mixed with aerobic. We have seen amazing quality results by doing this combination. So these are technologies that's actually available in the CPH EEO manuals that's put out by the government. And we have literally taken two good concepts of it, combined it, and really made transformational changes across the industry. With a very short span of say about 7 years, we have, I think, put out about 400-500 STPs with a total capacity, cumulative capacity of about 60-70 million liters of treatment per day. So I would like to just quickly jump to the point where we are differentiating from the conventional system. So the system compared to an SBR or an MBBR is, it consumes about 70% lesser energy. It consumes about 30 to 40% lesser area, which is very, very important in a country like ours, where every square foot is super expensive. The noise and vibration levels are almost nil. The STPs are also able to produce biogas. So like, as the MOEF and the CPCB are actually insisting that to put up technologies to extract renewable energy from our waste. So this technology extracts the highest amount of biogas from the system. And there is absolutely no need for skilled labor to operate. So even a blue-collared, untrained labor will be able to operate the plant. This is where Mansi was really making it a point to really solve challenges on the field without an expert is very hard. So we choose the way where we don't need, we're trying to avoid really technical people operating the plant. The capital cost is also significantly reduced. We don't need to add bacteria or any of this, additions throughout the additives throughout the operations of the plant. Operational cost is very low. Sludge production is one of the biggest challenges of our STPs. So now we've reduced the volume of sludge by increasing the volume of gas. Now with the gas production, we are also able to convert that into electricity, or sometimes even substitute for LPG, which we will discuss in a little bit. Odor, which is a very significant issue that most people around the STPs face, that is also treated and then discharged. So all of these make it a very robust, like make in India kind of STP, which is solving our real challenges, which can be operated in our country without having to import things or like, not having the enough infrastructure to fix problems. Now, when we set up STPs, we also understood, the intention behind it was to, okay, people are going to start to recycle this water. So we started to see about 50% of this water getting recycled. But then slowly we also understood that not all of the water was actually getting utilized. So about we have, like I said, about 50 million liters of treatment capacity across India, and about 25 million liters of treated water gets thrown away into drains. And then we were like, what is the point treating so much water and leaving such good water down into the drain, which will go find its way into lakes like what Kalpana was talking about, and again, which will effectively contaminate that water, because now you're adding more nutrients into it and algal formations and all of these issues that will pop up there. So we started to realize there is no utility for this extra treated water. So when we started Tankerwala. Tankerwala is basically a mobile application. We began it with an intention to solve freshwater access to a lot of people. So when we, how we are so used to having Uber, Ola, Swiggy, Dunzo, whatnot startups these days to get our food or groceries or even chores done, there was nothing for water. Like, it's one of the most essential resources that we need. We can't do a day without it, and we don't have a platform to get us water. So we set up a platform similar to Ola and Uber, where you're able to aggregate all of these water tankers across the city and pass on the orders that we receive to these tankers so that they can go deliver fresh water. Then, having the expertise of Green Lantern, with having so many of these STPs that we are operating ourselves, and with our partners around the city with tens and thousands of these STPs available, having extra water every day going down the drain, we thought, okay, why not build another network within Tankerwala dedicated to move recyclable water? Now, the biggest industry that consumes, the industry that consumes the highest amount of water is the construction industry. And we work so closely with the construction industry. All of us here put together, everybody has a touch point with the construction industry. So if you look at a project, about 120 million liters is just going towards construction of one project. And in Bangalore alone, on a daily basis, there's a 500 million liter requirement for construction. Water required for construction. This will include road laying, this will include metro construction, all the constructions, government and private body constructions. Now, just imagine 500 million liters of water that's going down the drain on one side can actually be coming into the place where it can be used for construction. Crores of rupees is spent for construction, taking valuable, precious water that can be used for primary applications is just going towards curing and land compacting. So these kind of secondary applications can be done using groundwater. So with Tankerwala, what we decided to do is, with the expertise of STPs, we decided to also put out the quality assurance, because that's one of the biggest challenges in recycling the water. So like, the quality should be good. So who can maintain the quality of a plant? Who understands STPs? So that's when we came in to provide a wholesome solution for providing good quality water at a lower cost, with a great transportation network. So we've built India's largest network of tankers, with about 1,500 of our tankers hailing across Bangalore, mostly every day. We have smaller networks in Chennai, Hyderabad, and in Mumbai currently. So now what happens with a developer is they get quality water delivered to them within 60 minutes of ordering. They can check the status of their order. So basically, you can see your tanker move from a loading point to a unloading point. There is availability of water throughout the season, throughout the year, because there's no lack of treated water. Like, sometimes, bore wells, you start to deplete it, and then like you don't have enough water. So you will never face that situation here. The convenience aspect, so the it's highly cost effective, GPS enabled, so everybody can track. There is monitoring, so government bodies can actually monitor where these water trucks are picking up the water and where they're delivering this water. And
Shravan, a minute more to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We can just
yes. So Pune has already mandated construction to be done using recycled water. So it's only fair for rest of the cities to follow quickly. We're doing a project in Mumbai where people, the company was buying 120 KL per day at 900 rupees for every 10 KL tanker. Their expenditure per annum was about 39 lakhs. And with our water, at 486 rupees for 10 KL, the construction, the cost of tankers was 21 lakhs. So about 18 lakhs of savings and about 43 million liters of water conservation. So that is what we are able to do with both our companies, Green Lantern and Tankerwala, to provide a really great water recycling system with an amazing water tanker network across the country. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Chari sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shravan. It's such a brilliant initiative combining fresh water, used water, wastewater treatment. I think it's a brilliant circular economy in practice. And I thank you very much for sharing with the audience.
Thank you,
Now
sir.
you can see here that as all of us know, and the World Water Day is all about groundwater protection. And this is a great example of replacing groundwater extraction with used water for construction industry. And construction industry ruthlessly extract groundwater for curing and other applications. And this is example of what Shravant is trying to do, is to replace that with used water for curing and various construction industry applications. So thank you very much again, Shravant, for sharing your initiative with our city leaders. I would now request Mr. Asim to share his experience on robotics and IT solutions for water and wastewater management. As was introduced earlier, he's a CEO of Fluid Robotics, and robotics and IT for people like us, it's a little alien. So can you simplify to us what robotics and ICT can help water and wastewater segment through your initiative? Over to you, Mr. Asim.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank the entire ASCII team for helping us, or rather for this opportunity to talk about what we're doing in fluid robotics. And I'm going to, attempt to simplify this as much as possible. So at fluid robotics, we've been using technologies like robotics, artificial intelligence, and IoT to help cities across the world better manage wastewater infrastructure. A bit of background about our team. We're currently, we're based in a couple of cities in India. Myself and Nidhi Jain, we started the company about 5 years ago, and we've got a great set of partners that have helped us expand within India and across different countries, working with different municipal corporations. But what we'd like to do is talk a bit about the problem that really got us started on this journey. The environmental impact of untreated wastewater is quite significant, looking at the Indian context. So roughly it's estimated about 50 billion liters of untreated sewage is being discharged into the environment across Indian cities. And this is a problem that's not unique to India. You have a country like the US that has relatively well managed infrastructure. A developed country still has about 20% of that environmental discharge every single day. And the root cause really is the fact that Indian cities tend to have very little data about the location, the condition of underground wastewater pipeline networks. Even if technologies that are available to do this, are available, they tend to be quite outdated. And over the last couple of years, we've also seen, with the pandemic, how population growth, climate change, antimicrobial resistance have all been increasing the vulnerability of global populations to infectious diseases. And COVID has shown us that no early detection system that can be deployed across the city exists today. So at Fluid, we see wastewater as a very valuable resource that holds deep insights about the health of communities, the health of waterways, and robotics and IoT are really good tools that can help cities better manage wastewater infrastructure, especially in the Indian context where we're seeing significant growth over the next 10 to 15 years. So the technology that we've built comprises of hardware devices. So we have devices, robots that are deployed inside of wastewater pipelines, very difficult to access wastewater pipelines, and we have IoT devices that are deployed across wastewater networks. And all of this data feeds into our AI-based decision support system, which basically takes in this information and helps provide insights into the health of the wastewater networks and so on and so forth. Here is a short clip on the kind of environment in which these devices operate. So these devices are deployed deep inside wastewater networks. A lot of times access points may be buried. In some cases they may be available, but these are devices that are capable of multi-parameter analysis. So we're looking at the structural health of pipelines. We're looking at the effluent quality in these pipes. We're looking at the capacity of these pipelines. We're also using these devices for pathogen detection programs today, and I'll get into a little bit about that in a minute. So I'll walk through the two areas where we've been providing services to cities. The first one is focused more on the health of lakes, rivers, coastlines, where we help cities sustainably intercept and divert untreated wastewater away from waterways to treatment plants. So these devices are deployed across multiple drains, open, closed drains that are discharging untreated wastewater into lakes, rivers, and coastlines. We've deployed these devices across about 12 Indian cities to basically help quantify pollution and to help come up with a sustainable approach, a data-driven approach of diverting that wastewater through sewers to treatment plants. And we take an approach basically of network optimization. So optimizing existing infrastructure that is already there instead of always requiring new treatment facilities to be built. And the savings are quite significant, where a lot of times in our projects, we've been able to just optimize existing wastewater networks, existing treatment plants to treat wastewater that is being discharged into lakes and rivers. So we've done lakes where the discharge into the lake could be as little as 2 MLD, all the way going up to rivers that contribute upwards of 600 MLD of untreated wastewater being discharged. So the process, usually it's a 3-step process that we follow. We've worked with Mumbai, Pune, a few other cities as well, where we first deploy these devices to monitor the drains that are discharging into a water body. So looking at the volumetric discharge, looking at the quality of the wastewater that is being discharged. And then these devices are deployed in adjacent sewer networks to look at the connectivity of sewer networks to treatment facilities, as well as looking at additional capacity that may be available in these sewer networks to carry this additional wastewater. And the last part is using all of this data to build interceptor drains that can then sustainably, over several years, divert this wastewater away from the water body and carry it to a treatment plant. Now, in the last couple of years, we've realized that our experience monitoring wastewater is actually, helped us prepare for monitoring the spread of COVID just by testing wastewater. So we started our own wastewater-based epidemiology program, where we've been working now with multiple cities on tracking the spread of COVID just by monitoring the wastewater within sewer networks, open drains, and sewage treatment plants. Where today about 12.5 million people are being monitored on a weekly basis just through the wastewater that's flowing through these cities. And we're working with the Ministry of Electronics and IT, the Department of Biotechnology, and partners such as NIUA, NCL, AIMS as well. And this is a program that we've seen gain a lot of traction, where we provide not just the technology for automating sampling, so getting making it safe, making it scalable, reducing the human exposure to wastewater, raw sewage, and also building the capacity to do testing. So having our own microbiology department to help these cities go from raw sewage to, whether there is COVID or not, what variant of COVID is it, and so on and so forth. So we're seeing a lot of interest from cities to do this. So far, our technology is present in 4 different countries, including India, which shows that wastewater is not unique to countries like India. It's a global problem. Cities struggle with it, on a different at a different scale, depending on where you are. We've spent, last year monitored about 1.5 million feet of soil inspections outside of India, in addition to the 1 billion liters of urban pollution that we've monitored, and a population of about 12.5 million that's being monitored for infectious diseases. So now, we're expanding our COVID-19 surveillance programs to include more local outbreaks. So one of the cities that we're working in Rajasthan has local outbreaks of rotavirus, hepatitis A and D, fecal-oral contamination. So we're able to, start with COVID, but also look at smaller outbreaks that are happening within the city and help the city sort of tackle.
Asim, we have a minute to wrap it up. Yeah,
sure. With that, I'll end this presentation. I'd love to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Asim, there's one or two questions in the chat box. If you could respond to them, that would be very, very useful, particularly in the context of septic tank management. Is there any way you can contribute, you can help to prevent accidents, because people get into these septic tanks for cleaning and they get exposed to gases and they meet with accidents. So there are a couple of questions. If you can handle that. I think this is again a very, very powerful initiative, what Asim has presented. It is like a CAT scan or a MRI of a human body. So what they're doing is basically putting devices in the whole water and wastewater segment and trying to track and predict, and using artificial intelligence, they're able to tell us whether things are going well or not going well, and it can be very, very useful in taking informed decisions. One of the examples he gave was this epidemiological surveillance system. So the sewage then the wastewater can be a trigger point for informing the decision makers that the potential onset of COVID epidemic in the community where this wastewater is flowing. So I think these are very, very practical and relevant solutions that Asim through Fluid Robotics and his partners are doing. Thank you very much again. If there are any questions, please place it in the chat box so that other panelists can contribute. Now I invite Mr. Vinay. He's from co-founder of the Kritsnam technology. They're into water budgeting and digital water resource management. Over to you, Mr. Vinay.
Thank you, Professor Chari, Dr. Malini, and Administrative Staff College team for giving us this opportunity to present. Let me bring up my presentation quickly. Is this visible?
Yes, it is.
Right. So there has been a very great discussion by so all other panelists and the members who have spoken at length on various problems and trying to address the various challenges people are facing in this water sector. So, so we, so being graduates from IIT Kanpur, we have been we worked from IIT Kanpur for almost 5 years and recently shifted to Hyderabad, looking at the scope of opportunities here in Hyderabad. So we are trying to contribute in one small area of water, so where in the field of water budgeting and digital water management. So as I can see from various participants, there are two approaches we see it. One is what the government does for the community and what the community does by themselves. So here we are trying to see what the community does by themselves. So community, I mean the people who are more the bulk users of water. So where if I see so all the industrial commercial users who are actually using this for the commercial purposes. So if not as a sale of water, but more as a business purposes. So if we talk a little bit more from fundamentally, so what's the need for the digital water management? So the what we have seen is, so there is a potential to reduce up to 20% of the fresh water extraction in the 3 years. This is again one of the regulations which have come from the Central Groundwater Authority as part of the recent guidelines, so released under the under the guidance of National Green Tribunal, that the industrial and commercial users who are using groundwater for their so usage should target to reduce 20% of their extraction. That's one major guideline from the CGWL which has come up recently, and also monitor the actual cost of water associated with the product unit economics. So we have seen in the last 6 years of our work with various industrial and commercial users, initially you always used to think that water is a free resource, so I get water for free, and I don't account for the cost of the water. But things started slightly changing in the last 2-3 years, where so the groundwater has also been started so has been priced in various states, and there are various authorities which are being formed on the groundwater side. So people started counting water as their so in the BOM, so bill of materials in the products. So now they are counting on so how much water I need to use to produce one unit of my product, and track the inefficiencies in water use and improve organically. So what our experience?
Your slides are not moving. Just in case you are moving, we are on slide 1.
No, I just have 2-3 slides, so
no worries. Just letting you know.
Right, thanks. Yeah, so track the inefficiencies and improve use organically. So what we found was, so change in water habits does not come overnight. So be it a small house, be it so a commercial entity, be it industry, or be it a whole state, the change happens over a period of time. So, and it happens completely organically with the change of practices and habits. And also there are some international standards of ISO 46001 has been released, and the agencies and businesses are going towards achieving this because of their sustainability goals. And there has been increasing regulations from various departments, various governments on the effective usage of water. So this is quickly a schematic of so a continuous water budgeting process is there. So like the other colleague was briefing about the pipeline network underground. Okay, so what we have seen is, so yes, underground is definitely a major challenge, but an equally challenging is even the pipeline network which is available outside. So we have seen many industrial and commercial users who do have the pipelines outside, but if I ask pinpointedly, like, so where does this pipe come and where does this pipe go, there is no specific track how the pipeline evolved over the period of last so few years. So digitization of the pipeline is one of the most fundamental thing as part of this smart water budgeting or digital water management process, is what we strongly have believed. And second is classification of the processes and monitoring the data. So there is no solution. We cannot guide suggest a solution without knowing the actual data coming from the field. So this is where we strongly suggest automating the data collection process. So my remedies has to be thoughtful, remedies has to be brainstormed, but so my data collection has to be automatic, but whereas we have seen most of the places, so including from a very large scale river management in India to a domestic management, everything happens on estimation. So this is where we as a company, Kritsnam, are actively working on bringing data from water, so in a more untampered, so in a holistic way, digitally. And the last part is basically the reporting. So the live water budget, so we're giving them the right inputs in a representable format, so in a place which is easily accessible for them, so maybe in the form of an SMS, in the form of a WhatsApp message, in the form of an email, or just a simple mobile app. So we have seen that, so representing the data in a correct way, in the correct place, is one of the most important factor, so for a quick decision making, because as I was mentioning, the practices in the water change organically. So we may be having a very sophisticated SCADA systems at a very centralized location, but if I ask a ground person, so what is this? He says that I need to ask my IT department to get this data. This is something which we feel is not a very so appropriate thing to do. So the data has to be accessible to various stakeholders at the time of need. Again, so there should not be much efforts, so going into, so data, so gathering of the data, even though we have the data collection. So, so we, for our customers, we provide wide range of, so options for the data accessing, including sending automatic WhatsApp messages, like how you book a, a movie ticket on Book My Show, you get a ticket directly on the WhatsApp. So, so why not a water report? Why not your daily water report on your WhatsApp? So this is our flagship product. It's Dhara Smart Ultrasonic Flow Meter. So this is designed and developed in India for the Indian conditions. So a flow meter is a quite a common thing, so people hear about, but when we talk about a smart flow meter, so suitable.
So Vinay, are you showing the visuals?
This is in my third slide. If it is.
So your visuals are not moving. So can you push it up?
Is this visible now?
No, not really.
We are on the first slide, Vinay. Maybe you should just stop share and share again.
How is this?
Yeah, first.
Yeah. Move
yeah.
to the next one. Next one.
Right.
Yeah. Next one, I think. You're on the next one.
That's right. Yeah. This is what I was talking about, data at the fingerprints. So having the data accessible to the right person at the right time is one of the most critical part of our making the decision making very simple and easy to use. This our it is a flagship product, Dhara Smart Ultrasonic Flow Meter. So is our flagship product, where though there are many flow meters which are available generally in the market in India, a smart flow meter which is accessible, which solves a problem of the remote monitoring, especially when so if you talk about the urban governance or the rural monitoring, access to the power supply at the remote places where so my water is flowing has been very limited and restricted. So this particular meter has been designed for a remote monitoring of this is meant for the remote monitoring for a long time unattended monitoring. So this is ultrasonic transit time based principle. It's a plug and play device without, it is completely battery operated, which can has a battery life of up to 5 years. It does not have any external wires, so it has a completely inbuilt telemetry system of GPRS and 4G communication. And these are some of the meters which we have been installed. So we have installed more than 500 meters across the country for various commercial, industrial, and also some of the urban local bodies. Also, we have supplied these meters, and it is a very compact and plug and play type of a device, which once installed can continuously send the data, so to a secure cloud, and a private access for the data can be given to the respective users to monitor the data, to get access of the reports in the form of so email, and SMS and WhatsApp messages at all levels, starting from maybe a ground level person to as high as so minister levels. So some of our data has been under access for Chief Minister's dashboard, and also the so PMO dashboard for the disaster management applications, which we did for Central Water Commission for the flood management devices. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Vinay. If you can pull the slide down. I think this is again a very, very unique solution. From my point of view, I have not seen much of this happening in India. So I would say that all the water boards, all the municipalities should start looking at it. If I draw a parallel to this, many municipalities as part of this Swachh Bharat mission have developed what is called a solid waste management digital enablement. They have solid waste management sort of a balance plan available, and they can see how the waste is moving in the city through GPS and others. But in the context of water, none of our cities, even the most matured water utilities and water boards in the country, they do not have a comprehensive real-time water balancing system. I think what Minay has shown is that this is one solution which can be extremely useful in improving the service delivery, but also cut down the efficiency, because we would have a complete oversight on the water system in a city or in a geography. Thank you very much, Vinay, for sharing this. I think this will be very, very useful as the cities move towards delivering continuous water supply. If not the whole city, part of the city, this solution becomes super important. And that's what Amrut is trying to do, is to promote continuous pressurized water supply in urban areas in the country. So your solution is absolutely spot on, and I think maybe little futuristic, but I think it will be, I think the cities would catch up sooner or later. So thank you very much for sharing your solution. Now,
Professor Chari, just one small intervention.
Yes, please.
During a earlier conversation with Vinay, he had mentioned to me that he's having particular difficulty in working with the city governments, and therefore he's focusing more on the private sector, where he's finding a lot of resonance for the product. Given that we have most of the participants are from the cities, would you like to dig into that a little bit with Vinay, or would you have a piece of advice?
I think the advice was given by Thara ma'am. I think Vinay has to get into the challenge immediately, and I think he would have applied, or we should be facilitating in getting into the challenge number one, because that's where the acceptance will come at the city and state level, number one. Number two, the big challenge for the city leadership is, how do I procure the services of someone like Mr. Vinay? Because they don't know the specs, they don't know the terms of reference, they can't easily procure such solutions easily. So we should work with him in developing a very smart terms of reference for disseminate extensively to the cities and water boards in the country, because the cities will have very, very difficult situation in procuring such solutions. It's not easy. So I think the burden is on us, Inkwash team, Dr. Manley and ASCII, to help develop a very practical terms of reference and disseminate, or request for proposal and disseminate to the cities. I think that's very, very important, number one. Number three is, if a city procures, how do they measure the performance of the system? What Vinay is going to deploy, how do they measure the KPI? So in the request for proposal, we should also put out the KPI, so that there is a win-win situation for all the parties concerned. But we will definitely work with him, so that his solution is not restricted to only private sector. His solution should go to across every municipality and across every water board. There is a good opportunity I see in that solution. So thank you very much, Vinay, and thank you, Dr. Malini, for raising this question. Mr. Raviraj, he's from UD Lever. You heard 6 innovators speaking, coming from different backgrounds, coming from robotics to very practical issues related to groundwater, the whole core issue of water security in cities, what Kalpana ji has mentioned. Now, corporates are, how corporates are looking at it as part of their CSR or as partnerships to promote sustainability in cities. These are great examples, but often they don't get the necessary support from CSR as well as from corporates in general. So you are an exception. That's why we call you as a corporate steward, and that's why we invited you. And we need more and more people like you to support these innovators, to pilot, to sort of deploy some of these solutions at scale. So over to you, Mr. Raviraj, your views on what you heard today, and also what is your program is all about, and how you can help these startups. Over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Professor Chari. Thanks, everyone. It's been a long day, so I will not take much time. And after all these wonderful innovators, I think I and the ecosystem is still on the periphery, but I will not miss this opportunity to talk about Transform and how we can bridge the gap that Professor Chari just highlighted about creating bridge between the corporates, the public, private, and the innovators, right? So I represent Transform. I'm sure most of you might not have heard of it, and I think that's why I am here. So Transform is actually a program between. Is the slide changing? Because it's not moving at my end.
No, sir, it seems to be stuck.
Just a second.
Can you try it again?
I will do it again. Just a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's moving now.
Yeah. So if you can take it to the full scale, that will be useful.
Yeah. So it is a program. It's a joint program between Unilever, FCDO, which is actually Government of UK's development fund, and EY, which was established in 2015. Intention was to find out social enterprises which have these market-based solutions for people's problems and help them scale to a certain level. This is categorically, I'm underlining this word social enterprise-led solutions, because I think that's where we believe as an organization, as a philosophy, that's where the sustainable change will come in. Sustainable and scalable solutions will come in. So it's pretty unique partnership where corporate and the public fund has joined hands. How we try to do is we try to leverage the partnerships and de-risk each other's investments as well as other support. Multiple partners apart from these core partners of UK, EY, and Unilever. There are multiple partners which have come to transform on certain projects, etc., or certain geographies. The typical support, if you look at it, is we give a grant funding to these enterprises, but largely the bigger support that enterprises also like is the B2B support, the strategy support, the mentoring support. We have partners like EY. EY offers their business modeling, entire business strategy support. Unilever deploys its employees to become mentors with these enterprises. We do handhold them, and the biggest support that we try to do is find out opportunities for these enterprises within Unilever's value chains wherever possible, in procurement, in sustainability, in CSR, wherever we can find an opportunity to fit this enterprise in our value chain, we do that. So I think I draw a parallel between what Thara ma'am was saying. That's the next step of supporting social enterprises, not only giving them a grant or a fund, but also give them business opportunities with establishments. So I think that's bigger support that we offer. These are large verticals that transform, support social enterprises in water, sanitation, hygiene. I think these two are important for the audience here. Apart from that, rural livelihood generation in general is a overarching theme for Transform, where focus is on creating inclusive livelihoods in any of these enterprises that we support. Apart from that, health and well-being and energy and environment. Energy and environment, largely we are working with plastics and flexible plastics as a problem in India and in South Asia. So how we normally do is we work in low-income group communities in Sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. So we have that geographical focus. Transform, how it works is, as I said, it supports market-based solutions to low-income households. It helps them accelerate their work. It delivers impact through power of markets. As I said, it has to be because that's where we see the power of social entrepreneurship, or entrepreneurial way of social change making, is that how you link it to the market behavior so that the scales are unlimited. It treats people as we treat people as customers, not beneficiaries. That's where you bring them at parity, and and then every action you become accountable for every action. And we try to see that technology is integrated into these solutions, because everyone is talking about technology and it has proven its benefits in the entire process of social change. How it works, like any typical call, we identify these enterprises which fall under certain criteria. They like low income group household needs to be addressed, needs to be a market-based solution in these certain geographies that I highlighted, and how Unilever or any other partners can get benefited from these expertise or capabilities. As I was mentioning, can these enterprises be part of our value chain anywhere? That could be an additional selection criteria. Then Transform provides this grant funding and other advisory support, etc., to these enterprises to scale to the next level. And we also help them acquire scale level investment funds, etc., through our extended networks when they complete Transform projects. Since 2015, we have completed more than 61 business projects. When I say project, it is a proposal that any enterprise comes to us with, and then we identify whether there is a new news, where there is an innovation, and all those criteria, and then we support them. Out of that, 48 were completed. This is as of Jan 1st, so data is still updated. Largely, India, Bangladesh has played a big role in Transform, and it has been a very unique focus for us. Before talking about a couple of case studies, I just want to ensure that because we're talking to so many ULBs here, and for Transform, it is always very critical to see that social enterprises, whoever approaches, work closely with these ULBs, because we feel no social change in any vertical can be sustainable and scalable without ULB support and participation. So we always ensure that ULBs need to be part of it. And as a next step, we are actually envisioning if ULBs can be somehow partnered at a Transform program level, so that our social enterprises get a larger benefit out of it. So I would love to interact with more ULBs as well as social enterprises to see how we can grow together in Transform. There are a couple of case studies in Saraplast is one of the enterprises in Pune where we helped them in Transform 1 in 2020-21. They came to us. They already were working with Pune Municipal Corporation and converted these. So we helped them test this concept, and now they are ready to scale. So Transform 1 was about helping run the pilots and take them to the next scale. So they did with around 10 to 12 buses. They also did a couple of buses for Telangana state, a couple of ULBs in Telangana state. That's Saraplast, and these buses were designed specifically for women, because public sanitation for women at crowded places has always been a problem. So this was one innovative way, and we helped them design a economically beneficial or financially sustainable model by creating a diversified business in those buses. So that's what we did with Saraplast. Folia Water in Bangladesh is one of the technologies they've developed. It's a patented technology. They've developed a paper which gives bacteria and cyst cleaning as per WHO guidelines. And this is specifically designed for low-income group communities, where these papers can fit onto a funnel, and this funnel can fit onto any bottle. And it gives a fantastic result. This could be a very it could be a FMCG product that can be sold through even panwalas, and that's what we helped them pilot in Bangladesh, how they could create a distribution channel for such a product. And then we supported an enterprise in Africa, Pit Vidura, where emptying the pits still was done by hands, and there was a technology enterprise that came with waste management practices by emptying services which were affordable and with deep reach. So these are few examples, but large point is, so if you can see what I was talking about, how Transform supports enterprises, but then how these enterprises saw our support. Somebody said they were like the line managers we don't have. So our entire Transform ecosystem worked with these enterprises to get them into that problem solving mode through a business lens. That was one of the feedbacks. Also, we helped, such good partners. I don't want to brag, but Unilever and FCDO would help them open newer doors. Enterprises would get more, more warm responses from newer opportunities, newer partners, etc.
Raviraj, if you can just
yes,
up.
So that's it. I'm done with it. So that's it. So I would invite people to click on this. Visit our website and know more about Transform. If you have any questions, you can write to me. If you think your enterprise can be Transform worthy enterprise, please, or Transform is worthy supporting you guys, please write to me, and we'll be more than happy to respond. And thanks, Professor Chari, for giving me the opportunity to talk about Transform.
Thank you very much. Just one quick question: is water management, sanitation, is it one of your priority areas in the
sanitation certainly is. For transform, yes, sanitation is a big area of.
And do you have projects in the water domain?
In water?
Yeah.
Yes, in water we had couple of them in India. One was Spring Health in Orissa, rural Orissa, which was about water treatment through decentralized water purification units.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have supported couple of them in water and sanitation.
Thank you
so
very
that's
much.
a focus. Yeah.
Dr. Malini, anything from your side?
Yeah, just want to understand from Mr. Ravi, is this like a revolving fund, Mr. Ravi? Like you can apply for this fund throughout the year, or do you come
It's
out
an
with
open
a
call.
call?
No, it's an open call. It continues throughout. There's no dead end. There's
And
no
do you
end.
have a cap on the ticket size, or is it?
So on an average, we have supported up to 200 to 250,000 pounds, so around 2.5 crore rupees to every enterprise. And project normally is for up to 12 to 24 months.
Thank you.
Okay.
But after 24 months or 12 months also, we don't stop interacting with the enterprises. The engagement continues. Most of them become our vendors or our suppliers, etc.
Great. I think that's really encouraging, Mr. Ravi. What we'll do is after the workshop, we'll sort of connect with you to have a chat with regards what are you looking for when someone applies, and we can reach those distilled points to our innovators, so that, you know, and also if there is some promotional material that we can reach out to them beyond this PPT, that will be very useful to all our innovators.
So can you pull out the PPT?
Screen share.
Yes.
So there are just quick operational questions, Mr. Aviraj.
Yeah.
Do you, somebody asked a question, do they need a FCRA permit to apply for transform, number one, yes or no?
No.
No, okay, good. And number two is very relevant question. What is it about? Any eligibility criteria? I think the eligibility
it's on the
criteria
website. Yes,
it's on the website. So I request everybody to go through the
please
website.
Feel free to write to me.
Yeah, that's also fine. So thank you very much. I think this has been wonderful. Thank you very much. We will connect with you, as Dr. Malini said. So this has been a very informative session. Of course, we have shot over the timeline that we have set for ourselves. All these presentations and details will be shared with all the city partners as well as other partners who are on this call. The 6 presentations that you heard, they are very relevant, very useful, and we are going to extensively disseminate. Now, the second thing that we are going to do is see if we can translate some of these products and solutions into a very practical terms of reference for city governments to engage with, because many a times cities have challenge in procuring. It's not just the procedures, but also how do we procure a particular idea or a company. These are not typically in the bill of quantities. These are not typically in a conventional procurement system. We're going to work with some of you, all of you rather, to see if we can translate some of these solutions into a typical government protocol based systems, so that procurement becomes easy. As Thara said, as the startup ecosystem expands and gain credibility at the state and local level, parallelly we need to develop some of these tools so that they can start engaging with the startups that we discussed today. So I think this has been a very useful. This, as I said, this is just a beginning of our conversation. We're going to have more and more interaction with cities, and I request Dr. Malini to give a closing remark and wrap up this session.
Thank you, Professor Chari. I just want to say one thing, that this is a continuous effort from our side to engage with you and to bring all the partners together and to strengthen this platform. Already, if you see the chat box, we can see many people wanting to reach out to each other. And I hope this would happen. While we have some announced programs like the training program on 24/7, the corporate stewardship program, and the monthly events that we are planning to have, which is the dialogues. The next dialogue is going to be led by corporates who are supporting WASH. While we do that, there is also opportunity, and we actually encourage you to please reach out to us for any specific aspect that you would like us to work on. For example, if there are some training modules that you would like us to develop, and you would like us to either attend, or you would like to take it to any of your city partners to bring, use it for advocacy, capacity building, is if there is any policy note that you're working on and you would like us to sort of give our views and bring a larger participation to support and strengthen your case, please do reach out to us.
Also,
So
document your initiatives, because many of you are busy doing the work, but you may not get time to document in a systematic way, so that more and more cities reach out. Kalpana ji is lucky because she's a specialist in documentation herself, being a designer and architect and urban planner. But many technical people may not have time to document. Feel free to reach out to us. We will reach out, we will visit you, document and give it back, validate it and disseminate to various cities.
Right, and Kalpana is also very articulate and has some great projects to showcase. Many of you may not have reached that stage, so do reach out to us if you would like some case study development. So wherever you are, if you are looking at someone to support you with branding, please let us know. So this is an open invitation to all of you to stay connected with us, and to our best ability, we will try and come back to you and do what is required to support this sector and to support all of you. So thank you once again to all of you. My team, Devika, Sai and Sayan, they've been in touch with you. And they will continue to be in touch with you even after this. They will write to you, they'll share the PPTs, and they will share all the information that is required. Do block your calendar for the 25th of April and join us at 3:30. So thanks a lot and see you again.